The Little Hands,
which was written by Panton Space Hook on Reddit. I never lived in a haunted house, but my mother did when she was a teenager. Other houses on the street had strange things going on too. A few houses away from her lived a family. One night the daughter went to bed and had a bad headache. The next day she was dead. She passed away from aneurysm. After the funeral, the family went away to get their minds off the tragic event, and the father asked my uncle, who was my mother's father, to check on the pets. My mum and dad, who were dating at the time, went with him. My mum had heard there was a grand piano and she wanted to play it. My dad was studying to be a veterinarian at the time. After entering the house, my father and uncle headed to the basement to see the animals, and my mother went to the piano, which was on the ground floor. She was playing it when she felt something brush against her ankles. She thought it was a cat who must have walked past her from the basement, so she kept playing the piano until she felt it again. She looked under the piano and saw nothing. When she started again, she felt hands clasp her legs tightly. She dashed to the basement door and called my uncle and father and waited for them. Back outside, my uncle could tell my mum was rattled and asked what's wrong. She told him what had happened and he turned white. He told her their daughter who had died used to play a game with her father. When he played the piano, she used to crawl underneath and grabbed his ankle and push his feet up and down on the pedals. That's the end of the story. Want to see more cool stories like this? Make sure to follow, like and share. And if you've got any stories, please message me on Instagram. Guide to His Grave by my ex-wife thought she was a psychic, or had some kind of clairvoyance, or paranormal ability. We kind of half-joke about it, and even now I kind of look back on it cynically and chalk up to her wanting attention. But there was this one time that I still wonder about. Charlie, who had never met her great-grandfather. She heard a lot of stories about him though. He was tall, angry man that was always wore a three-piece suit.
I loved to beat his wife and children.
He was all by or accounted a mean, violent alcoholic. He died of
Destitute.
and was reported to be buried in a particular cemetery in a nearby city. Being a fan of cemeteries, we would visit them frequently, often to take photography or One afternoon, we were exploring a large cemetery across the street from the cemetery where her great-grandfather was supposed to be. She often talks about trying to find his grave, but no one seems to know where it was. I believe we had gone looking a few times, but came up empty-handed. As we were driving slowly through the other cemetery, Charlie, who was looking out the passenger window, suddenly yelled out, "Stop! Stop the car!" I stomped the brakes, and she undid her seatbelt, opened the door, and walked hurriedly into an area dense with headstones. I watched her walk in about 20 feet.
And stopped.
She was staring at a headstone. I put the car in neutral and got out and walked over to
Join her.
There was his grave. He was buried next to a friend or a distant relative in the other half of the double plot. Apparently, when he died, there was no money to bury him. There was a vacancy, thanks to a friend or a relative that had a double plot that ended up within the divorce. So that meant that there were basically a free hole in the ground they could stick him in. And the guy who was in the other half didn't mind sharing an internal resting place since his ex-wife was going to bury him with a postman or whoever. She said she didn't see the headstone from the car. I believed her because she had terrible vision. She hated wearing glasses, but I could not see the name on the headstone from the road, and my vision was excellent at the time. The boy with no eyes. One night when I was 10, I woke up by my bedroom door opening, followed by someone sitting on my bed. Reddit user by the name Komodo4 recalls a childhood brush with a very persistent ghostly apparition. I felt my leg gazed and the bed sink under a person's weight. It's just Mum, I thought. I opened my eyes. It was not my mum. I found an eyeless boy. He had black and empty sockets, about my age, sitting at the foot of my bed. He extended his hand. In it was a little box. But what could that little box be? I was startled, but reached out. He pulled back, but I reached out again and said, "Give it." Then I blinked, and when I reopened my eyes, he was gone. But I could still see the imprint where he sat on my bed. Fast forward 5 years. My girlfriend came over to do homework. After she finished, she took a nap while she waited for her parents. When they arrived, I tried waking her up. She opened her eyes suddenly, looking up at a corner where the wall meets the ceiling. She pointed there and went back to sleep. I shook her again. She came to full consciousness and I explained what she'd done. She looked haunted. I saw a little boy with no eyes. He was there in a Spider-Man pose, staring at me. I freaked out and told her my story about the same kid. Fast forward another 5 years. I was still with the same girlfriend. We had a 2-year-old. We were living in my parents' house, in my old room. My daughter started waking up at the same time every night, and she talked. After a while, I noticed she had almost the same conversation every night. I playfully asked her once who she was talking to. She said, "It's a little boy. He's nice. He's lost and looking for his mummy." My daughter, nightly conversations continued. We got our own place later that year. I hope if you do enjoy these ghost stories, make sure to follow me on TikTok and my Instagram. I'll see you guys soon. Welcome to another ghost story that will keep you up at night. Stay tuned and grab that snack and let's get started. A Ouija board knocks back. In high school, my mates and I were messing around with the Ouija board. We have done it before and nothing impressive usually ever happens. We usually did it to try and scare each other or our girlfriends. We all thought it was a joke. That night, there were no one else home except the 7 of us, and we were all together around the board. One of the girls wanted to try it. She never played with the Ouija board before until now. This time it was different. The board misspelled some of the words, same way every time. It gave answers that seemed really historical correct, but neither of us knew or cared about. Anyway, long story short, the ghost claimed it was a 10-year-old boy who had died on the property in the 1800s and was buried there too, in an unmarked grave. We were all a little spooked out. However, we were still skeptical and we all assumed one of us was trying to scare the rest of us. Finally, my friend asked if the spirit could do something to prove he was there with us. The planchette went to yes, but it then spelled out Knock. Then the planchette stopped moving. We just all stared at it, silent, and then there was a on the window right next to us. The lights were on outside and there was absolutely no one out there. We never touched that thing again. I hope you enjoyed the story. If so, make sure to follow me on TikTok or my other social medias. I also hope you never play with the Ouija board. Otherwise, demons be under your bed tonight.